Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Natalie Rose. And 9 months ago, a little more than 9 months ago, on January 11th, 2025, I had a spiritual awakening. To this day, I cannot explain it. And what I've come to learn is that everybody's awakening is different. Mine happened in the pits of despair. I was hopeless, completely hopeless. And I remember thinking around that time that I had no hope left, not an ounce. And I really just didn't want to go on. I was intensely depressed, and I was drinking myself into oblivion every single day, just so that I could go to sleep at night. And I was over consuming everything. I could not stop looking at my phone. I could not stop eating really, really bad foods for me. And I wasn't doing any exercise, because what was the point was the ego's thinking. And I decided one morning to listen to an ASMR Reiki video. And I will link her channel in the description. It's a very good channel, especially if you're into energy healing. And it's an ASMR, so it's very quiet and very sweet. She's very, very sweet, Anna. I had listened to a couple of her videos to go to sleep at night, and I really did like them, but I hadn't really listened to them because I would, fall asleep, and plus I was drunk, so I was not paying attention to much. So one morning I woke up, and I woke up early, and I felt very, very sick, as I usually did, very hungover, and I had made a playlist, and on the playlist, her video came on, like right as I woke up. And so I decided to really focus on it and really put my heart into healing myself. I had some really, really horrible IBS for years. It had been a couple of years. And I have a strong aversion to medical doctors. And so don't take my advice. If you need a medical doctor, go see a medical doctor. But I do mostly holistic. And I was so sick. Probably had a lot to do with the alcohol, but it also had to do with past trauma that I hadn't ever resolved. I just thought I had to live with it. I just thought, this happened to me. It really sucks. I'm broken. There's nothing I can do. And so I decided to listen to this video that morning. And I didn't even realize that it was 111. I didn't realize it was January 11th. I didn't know what day it was. It didn't matter to me. None of that mattered. I didn't even know really what angel numbers were. And so I focused on it. And she started at the crown chakra, and it was healing 7 chakras. And so she started at the crown chakra, and she worked her way down. And I could feel immense relief right around the heart chakra. And it was like, wow, this is really working. And then I moved down to the solar plexus chakra, which I had been struggling with a lot of stomach pain for a long time. And trigger warning, this is kind of gross, but when I hit the solar plexus chakra, I suddenly had to go to the bathroom like so bad. And I'm telling you, it was that in itself was a spiritual event. It was like this release of so much stuff. And I when I remember like washing my hands, and just as I was washing my hands, I was releasing more toxins. I was like I hadn't even done any Reiki studies. I hadn't even like I didn't know anything prior to that. I mean, I did a little bit. Like I've always been interested in spiritual stuff. Like, but I didn't I didn't really like it wasn't my life. Like I didn't make a lifestyle out of it. It was just stuff that I knew. And so I started like releasing more of the negative, toxic gunk, like through my hands, and allowing it to wash down the drain, and like visualizing it washing down the drain. And when I walked back into my room, I felt different. Very, very different. I felt lighter, and like all the fear and hatred and anger and hopelessness and all of this was just drained away, and I was just kind of in this weird state of just like I didn't even realize it at the time, but what it was serenity. It was inner peace. And I had been praying, I'm telling you, I have been praying for inner peace for years. I saw a friend of mine had told me that they always, we talk about like what you wish for. And he said he always wished for inner peace. And I was like, well, that's way better than what I'm wishing for. I've been wishing for money and success and love and all these things. But what I really truly wanted was inner peace. And so I've been praying for it for years. And it was at that moment that I truly, truly felt it for the first time in my life. So that was the awakening. It was like I was suddenly, I don't even know if that we would consider that the awakening. It was like my body was like prepared to be awakened. And I probably could have just gone on with my life and gone back to drinking and died in a pile of misery. But I cannot explain it to this day. I just suddenly was ready to surrender, and I felt so connected and loved. And when thoughts of shame would come in my mind, it was like they were just washed away. And so in that mode of surrender that I received after this cleansing, which that's what I believe, truthfully, what I believe happened was that I gave myself my first attunement using Anna's video as a guide, and probably aided by Anna's energy of making that video. I don't really know how all that works, but that's what makes sense to me. And so I just decided to go with the flow and follow my intuition. And I was starting to have these like desires. I wouldn't say it's desire. It's like urge, like an urge to get up and do yoga. Like my back's hurting, get up and do yoga. Wake up early, Like, that was when I started my sleep practice, which I try to wake up every morning. And in fact, I don't even try. Here's the thing. I just say to myself, or to my spirit guides, really, I'm talking to my spirit guides, my higher self, I want to wake up at sunrise. And I wake up at sunrise. And I had no desire to go back to sleep, even though I've been a night owl for my entire life and love sleeping in for years, like since as long as I can remember. Suddenly, I just want to be up. I want to be up. I started putting together a practice of going for a walk, doing yoga, and I started writing my own prayers that were more like, allow me to be of service to you. Because I felt so connected to this spirit, this source energy, this, I say creator, but still to this day, I cannot explain what it is. And when people say God, I recognize that sometimes when they're talking about God, they're talking about the same source. It's like, it's everything. It is us. It is in everything. It is everything. It's not just in everything. It is everything. Anyway, I'm still trying to come to terms with what that means. And I don't know that it's for me to really discover in this lifetime. Maybe it will. I certainly seem very interested in it. And that was another thing I was getting urges to do, was follow the signs. Like these signs kept appearing, and a lot of angel numbers were popping up, like on my phone or in like the time. Like, I look at my watch at all these angel numbers, and I started researching like what people think they mean. And over time, I've developed my own intuition about what angel numbers mean for me, because it's just a way for my spirit guides to communicate with me. And so they're going to send me signs that I understand, not necessarily what other people say they mean. It's like, what interpretation do I take from it? And I was following the signs, and they were leading me to spiritual channels, to certain mentors, and then eventually were leading me to groups of people that are like-minded and healing as well, and on the same similar journey. I can't say the same journey, because it seems like nobody else is really on my exact precise journey, and nobody seems to really have all the answers that I'm seeking. But one of the other things that I was encouraged to do was to meditate and just take time to sit without thought. And a lot of times it's like this mind movie will play. I remember, for example, one time I was asking Shiva, how did evil come to be in this creation? And it was like I watched this whole, like, for like an hour straight of this. It was like watching symbols and hands, and like basically what it was, what I was told through this mind movie, was that it just happened. Like, it wasn't an intentional thing. It was part of the act of creation. This evil, the darkness, had to exist. Because the light existed, the dark had to exist, and it was there. And that in the act of creation, Shiva, along with all these others that came after Source, like Source was the first that dreamed itself into being, and then the beings started to multiply, and this darkness, this evil, existed in all of it. And no matter how hard they tried to remove the evil from the world, from creation, it would always elude them. It would always like fragment away or slither off and hide and then come back. And this was like an amazing meditation. It was like, just through me being present, I was able to get information that I've had confirmed in books and from mentors and through other spiritual teachers. And so I wanted to share this story because I know that there are a lot of people going through it right now. First thing that I want to tell you, if you're going through an awakening, you're not crazy. Okay? What you're experiencing is real. It is real. You're not the only one who's going through it. When you start to feel like you are God or Jesus or whatever, that is true, but you're not the only one. And I think that's something a lot of people get hung up on, is they were like, oh my God, things start to make sense to you and you're like, oh my gosh, I am actually God. And then you get stuck there and you're like, I have to save the world. Well, no, that's not necessarily the case. Yes, you should be of service. And yes, you should be doing things for humanity. But you don't have to give everything up. What you need to do is find mentors and people that you trust that seem to be on a similar path. And when you're going through an awakening, use your discernment. You are given discernment. And it will lead you correctly. And you'll be able to see when people are lying or something seems like, like a little off or grifty. You'll be able to see it. Trust yourself. And don't just listen to what others say, because you're going to get more from within than you will without during an awakening. Another thing is that these awakenings, like what I had, like this cleansing, it does not last forever. And so you might be feeling like a big sense of urgency to get everything done and go save the world and, go out in the woods for 40 days and all this stuff. And yes, it is urgent, but really what you need to focus on is getting yourself a good, practical, spiritual practice that you can practice daily. Get yourself a good mentor or a sponsor, someone that can help and guide you in the spiritual path you've chosen, and get get your practice, get your sponsor or your mentor. And there was something else. It'll come to me if it's important. Anyway, if it's important, then I will make another video with it. But I guess that's it. Spirit's telling me that's it. Get yourself a good practice that it not only spiritually, but something that takes care of your body, mind, and spirit. I'm not kidding. That trilogy is super, super important. It's the Trinity. It's body, mind, and spirit. All have to be working in harmony with each other and taking care of each other in order for your spiritual awakening to not just fade away. Because it does fade. It does fade. And if you go right back into your same habits again, and you have not built yourself a good practice, you will fall right back into the pit of despair that you were before you came out of it. You will hit the rock bottom again, and you might hit harder. And that's not to say that an awakening will not come again. I've had 2. I'll talk about my first one some other time. This most recent one was 20 years after my first one. I went back to sleep. So it is really, really important that you get that good spiritual practice set and in order, and you can change it up. Like, don't be like, okay, I'm going to start going to church every day and I'm going to do what they say and that's it. That's putting yourself in a box. No, what I mean is get yourself a good spiritual practice that you can adapt as you need to what you currently are going through. And that's kind of where I am now. 9 months after my awakening, I'm still working on the process of it, the process of putting together a good spiritual practice. And I think I've got a pretty good one. And I have a lot of tools in my toolbox to help me. But I thought maybe some of this would help you guys too. So I love you all. Have a wonderful day.